action.
You're back in action.
And we are here. Hi, everyone.
What is up?
Hello, everybody.
No.
Paul, you made it. You made it.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to turn my.
Yeah, you're vertical, buddy.
Yeah, you're oddball.
There you go.
There it is. There it is.
Look, now you're a big boy.
Oh, yeah, baby. We got two special guests. We got Paul, PA Pirate Paul, and Steve from Steve's Detector Rods. How are you guys?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. We got a bunch of people in the chat. Mark, Joe, let's see, Madison May, Marlon, Mamas, Anthony, Paul, Shane, my boy Clay. I miss you, buddy. Yeah, we all got some pretty deep snow, but he was playing around with his daughter. I think it was the first time sledding, so that looked really fun. Who else do we have in here? Ezra's in here, Central PA, Detectorist, Frederick Romano. That's a new one. I haven't seen Frederick in here before. Bobby's in here. Who else is in here? I don't know. The list is too long. It's getting longer and longer, I feel like. I can't keep up with it, which is good. But I hope everyone's having a good night. It is... Oh, and if you're wondering where Mike is, he is doing what I should be doing and working. So I'm playing a little hooky. So, but hope everyone's having a good night. Hey, Missouri Mike, DF Digger, everyone's hopping in. Tyler, what's up, man? It's gonna take us an hour just to get through the hellos. But Joe, that's a really nice background, man. Where'd you get that?
Oh, some really guy named Trey, I think, it took a picture of me one day, metal detecting in where were we? Oh, Jersey.
Yeah. What everybody doesn't know is I also am a amateur professional photographer. So
whatever
if you
that.
need any pictures.
I like Eric's background better.
Yeah, that looks nice.
What are you eating, dude?
I'm sorry that I'm eating. I'm sorry, Steve, Paul. I'm
like you're chewing
I'm
the
gonna
microphone.
ruin your guys' interview because so in our apartment complex, we got 3 feet of snow here. We got, I guess it was record breaking for New Jersey. But in Mount Arlington, where I live, we got 3 feet of snow, and it's taking them forever to, dig up plow all the parking lots. So we were losing a ton of parking spaces. Well, if I move my car out of my parking spot, I'm never gonna get another one. So I had to. I used DoorDash for the first time. Do you guys use that a lot?
Yeah.
No.
I used it for the first time tonight. It took me an hour to get McDonald's. That's all I wanted was just some McDonald's because I was so hungry. But it took me an hour to pay $20 for a burger. So, but anyways, Paul and Steve, thank you for hopping on tonight. Appreciate it. Joe again. I think you were the one who asked.
Yeah, another one. I stalked him.
Yeah.
Actually, I just bought a detecting rod from him, so I said, "Hey, why not?"
That's
I
awesome.
appreciate it. Absolutely, buddy. I love it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Steve. First of all, I saw it on Paul's first, and he likes to flash that thing around. That's for sure. Because it's like,
What
it's
are we talking about? Are you talking about detector shaft?
Some sort of shaft.
Okay, making sure we're on the right page there.
We'll keep it PG rated for now. But Paul's look good. Paul, how long have you had your shaft for now?
I probably have a shaft from Steve for over a year now.
Yeah. And that's the purple one, right? Yours is the purple one?
Well, the purple one I just finally got.
Oh, that's the one that you just got. Yeah. You had then you had the blue one before that? I can't remember.
I got like every color.
He's my advertiser.
Steve probably said I have every color.
First manager Paul.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, he's doing some good marketing. That's for sure.
I'm Steve's sales marketer for the East Coast.
Well, you're doing a good job because now Joe's flashing his around.
Yeah, man.
Showing it off. So, Steve, do you metal detect? Like, how long have you been metal detecting?
Yeah, I mean, I've probably been, really into the hobby for probably about, I guess, since about 2010. I actually first picked up a Detector when I was a teenager. I was going through my grandfather's stuff after he died. And there was one of those old White's Blue Box Gold Masters in his pile of stuff. And I thought, this looks kind of cool. So I didn't even have a manual. I didn't know what I was doing. So I turned it on and it turned on. So went out in the backyard and screwed around, found a couple of neat things with it. But I was 13 years old at the time. So I was worried about, sports and doing this and that. So I didn't really, plus once the batteries ran out, the thing took like 8 batteries. So by the time the batteries went out, I didn't have enough money to buy new batteries for it. So
Yeah, totally.
Sat there, but I picked it back up as an adult and got going from there. So
Don't you ever kick yourself? You're like, damn, I should have just stuck with that as a 13-year-old. The things you would have found.
Absolutely. And plus at the time, I'm in Oklahoma now, but at the time I was in Pennsylvania. And so I was in a perfect place to do it. Here you are, early 1980s in Pennsylvania. Yeah. I kick myself all the time.
What part of Oklahoma are you from?
I'm in Norman right now, which is in Central Oklahoma. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was born in Tulsa. I have a lot of family in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah.
Nice.
So, but
nice.
I moved out when I was really young. I haven't. I say I haven't been back since I've been back to visit family, but we never moved back. So,
well, one of the guys that introduced me to Steve is actually in our chat room right now, and everybody knows him, Missouri Mike.
Oh, yeah, see that? Missouri Mike, the matchmaker. That's awesome. Well, that's cool. So, how long ago was that, Paul?
It was probably around their trip to England.
Oh, very nice. That's cool.
Because Mike said he got, Steve's shaft. He loved it. He liked the counterbalance, all that, So I looked Steve up, and then we talked and grew a friendship from there,
Yeah. That's awesome. Madison Main said at 13 I would not have been chasing metal. Yeah, I don't think any of us really were. I don't think any of us were. I saw a couple new people come. Mike, Metal Detecting NC, Scuba Sonia, what's up? Potter County Diggers, hey, what's up? Mally Man's in here. Missouri Mike said hello. Man, everybody's popping in. So Clay asked what's the topic tonight. So Steve, you've been metal detecting, since you were 13, but for about 5 years now. When did you decide? Oh, 10 years. Yeah. When did you hop into actually making your detector rods?
Well, I started doing that about 3 years ago. For the longest time, I was swinging a Mine Lab Explorer. That was my machine of choice for a long time. And then I owned several of them, and they just, I kept having to replace them. They, something go wrong with them. And by that time, Mine Lab wasn't even making parts for them anymore. So I moved on to the CTX 3030 briefly, which I still have. But when I got the CTX, for so long with the Explorers, you got 3-4 coils for them. And of course, everybody wants an extra lower rod to keep it connected to all their coils, because with an Explorer, it's a lot easier to do a coil swap that way. So that's what I got used to. Basically from the guys that I got hooked up with when I really started getting serious about the hobby in about 2010, we're all swinging E-tracks. And so I kind of was used to the way that the Explorer shaft worked, just a clamp or slide the lower rod where you want it, you clamp it shut. But having those extra lower rods that was just natural to me. So when I moved to the CTX, the one I bought came with 2 extra coils. It had the stock coil and then the 6-inch and the big 17-inch coil. But it didn't have lower rods for them. So I thought, I'll just get a couple of lower rods. And at the time, I was used to spending, $35, $40 for an Explorer lower rod. And I looked at the CTX ones on the Mine Lab website. They're $175, and I thought, I don't have any money left. I just bought a CTX with 3 coils. I have no money left. So I thought, surely I can build a lower rod for this thing. It can't be that hard. And so it was kind of just a DIY project. I was online on some of the forums talking to people saying, hey, I can probably find carbon fiber tubes, but the part I'm stuck on is how do you make that piece, the plastic piece at the end where the coil fits?
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to people and I'm thinking, well, maybe I could make it out of wood, but if it gets wet, the wood will swell. So I'm going through all this in my mind, and eventually, all this talking to all these different peoples, I got an email or a private message from Jeff Herkey, the guy that makes the Herkey arm cuffs.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Hey, I've seen some of your posts in the forum. You're looking for, a way to come up with this lower rod piece for a CTX." He said, "Actually, I was going to think about selling lower rods myself. It was going to be a new, aspect of my business along with my cuffs. And so I've already drawn up a design for that lower rod piece. If you want to take it and tweak it and use it, I have no problem with that. I'm not going to pursue it." So I said, "Huh." So he gave me the design, and he put me in touch with some plastics people that could produce them. And I thought, hey, I'm going to be able to make my 2 lower rods. So I got some carbon fiber tubes. I used some of the contacts that he'd given me and put them together, and it worked out great. And so I just went online and said, "Hey, my project was a success. It worked." And from there, I had a buddy say, "Hey, can you make me one of those?" And I thought, well, I guess I could. So, and then another person. And so I started off just making CTX lower 3030 lower rods for friends. And that's kind of where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
So that was back in the first part of, it was probably late 2017, early 2018. So that's kind of where it all started.
Well, we got people in here already that are talking about. Like, I didn't even know Tyler Fowles. He's one of our regulars in our chat. He said he got his and he loves his. So, and to be honest, I hadn't even seen him before Paul. So, I mean, they're awesome and they seem to be really good quality, which is what you're looking for. Because I bought mine because I like to use the bigger coils, so I wanted to save some weight somewhere, because that thing will really wear on you if you use it all day. But I bought mine, and mine's got the telescopic part, but it's already falling apart. You know what I mean? So that's what you don't want to see.
Right.
And the cool thing about yours is you offer a whole bunch of different colors. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I got several different colors that I offer, probably 7 or 8 that I offer pretty routinely. And then occasionally I can get a custom color. It's a little harder, but the suppliers want you to buy if you're going to buy a particular color carbon fiber tube, they want you to buy, 10 or 20 at a time. So it makes it a little tough, but I've been able to customize at times for people. So I do what I can to please everybody.
Let me pull up. I got Paul had sent me over some pictures, so let me pull up what I have right now. So, is this your workshop here?
Well,
yeah, that's a bunch of tubes that came in sitting there.
Yeah. So, and you can see, I mean, you got the bright blue, which is really cool. Obviously, the black is always looking good too. I like the black. Paul said Paul, you got all these in this collection?
Pretty close.
And I know. Oh, Joe, you got the purple one.
I got the deep purple one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really nice looking. Let me see what else I got in here, because I got these pictures in my email there. They're so bright. They look really good. Now, you said you started off with which one? The E-Track?
With a CTX 3030.
Oh, CTX.
Yeah.
Do you still make them for everything, or are you kind of focused on just the Equinox now?
Yeah, no, I started with the CTX, and so I still make those. And I make them for the CTX 3030, and then I make them for the Equinox. And sometimes it just depends on the design of the shaft, but I've done quite a few custom ones for people. For a while, I was working on the whites for like an MX7 or MX4, but of course, since whites has gone out of business, I haven't pursued that too much further. But I make them for Garrett machines. I make them for the AT series,
oh, cool.
AT series. Yeah, and I've made just recently. In fact, within the last 2 days, I completed one for somebody. It was a prototype of a for the old Fisher CZ. I don't remember the old CZ machines. CZ 3Z or 3D and CZ7. So I have a design now that'll work for those. I've made some for their Sovereigns and Excaliburs. So it just depends. There's some that you can't do. I've had several people ask me, can you do them for like the Nocta or the Macro series? And the problem with those is they don't use round tubes for their shafts.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more difficult, because if you make a non-round carbon fiber tube, it requires the manufacturer needs to use a mold to make those. They don't wrap them like they do with a round tube, and so you have to purchase a mold, and it's kind of a big investment. And if you don't know how many of them you're going to sell, it's a big investment to make. So it's hard to do them for shafts that have non-round tubes. Then the other thing is a lot of the shafts, like the Garrett's, are on an S shaft. And again, you're into the same thing. If I want to make that S-shaped portion where the handle is, that requires a mold. And I'm thinking about investing in an S mold for, for like Garrett machines and things like that.
Yeah.
But now on the Garrett's, I just offer the lower two sections, the middle and lower shaft, and then it fits directly onto the Garrett upper S shaft.
Yeah. Frederick said, Steve, please explain the advantages of the rod.
Yeah, there's several advantages. Basically, what it boils down to is when I first got my Equinox and was using a stock shaft, there were several things about the shaft that I personally didn't like. And again, part of it goes back to what I was saying about being so used to the Explorers and then the CTX, and that is on those there's basically a clamp type cam lock if you're familiar with an E-Track or a CTX, and you just pop the clamp open and you slide that lower rod where you want it, and then you clamp it closed and you're done. And that to me is I kind of got spoiled by that type of shaft. So when the Equinox came out and it has the twist locks and the buttonholes, I just find those tedious and cumbersome. And the reason that the button and the buttonhole design is even there is because most twist locks, like the ones that MindLab chose, most of them aren't heavy duty or strong enough in terms of their clamping tension to do the job by themselves. You can't hold your lower rod tightly enough. If you move your lower rod on the Equinox on a stock shaft to where your button is in between buttonholes, it's not clamped in, and then you tighten your twist lock down, if you grab your lower and your upper, you can twist them. They'll move. You can slide them in and out if you pull real hard. It's not a strong enough cam lock. So therefore, you need that secondary assistance of a button and a buttonhole in order to hold everything in place. And to me, it's not necessary. If you pick the right cam lock, if you design a good cam lock, you can eliminate that. So it can be more akin to like the CTX or any track where you don't need to have the buttonholes. So that was one of the things that I wanted to do on the design, eliminate the buttonholes. And I knew that meant I got to design the right cam lock. But then also, and it kind of goes along with designing the right cam lock, wobble. Everybody knows that, certain Equinoxes over time are going to end up wobbling. And the reason for that, again, goes back to the cam lock. That twist lock is not tight enough to hold those things rigid. So you get a little bit of movement in your lower rod and your upper shaft. And even the slightest amount of movement with a heavy coil at the end, you're going to feel a wobble. So that was another thing I wanted to do. I wanted to, so many people complaining about that wobble, and I felt it a little bit with my shaft. I wanted to eliminate that. So those were the two primary goals in the beginning was how do I make it to where I can eliminate the tedium of the button and buttonholes, make a shaft that doesn't wobble, make something that's strong, make something that's light. But then on top of all of that, of course, most people who use the Equinox, especially with a bigger coil, know they get fatigued after a while. MindLab marketed the machine. They were aiming right at Deus when they developed the Equinox. They wanted to develop something that was light that would compete with the Deus because MindLab notoriously built these tanks of a machine that were heavy to swing. So finally with the Equinox, they said, we're going to build something light. And right now the light machine that everybody wants is a Deus. So that's what they targeted. And I think they had so much focus on how can we make this as light as possible, which they did. But the problem is, unlike the CTX, for example, that's got this big battery pack at the butt end of the shaft, or unlike an old White's machine with a big box at the end, there's no weight at the end of an Equinox shaft. And so therefore, although it's light, they forgot about the ergonomics of this situation where if you've got a heavy coil all the way out at the end of a shaft, that coil is using leverage against you. You've got nothing in the butt end of the shaft that's helping you to offset the weight of that coil and kind of lift the coil off the ground a little bit for you. So you're having to do all that work yourself, and you're having to do it with your wrist and your forearm. You're constantly, kind of pulling back towards you with your wrist to keep that coil lifted off the ground. And that's fatiguing. I mean, that's why most people find the heavier coils fatiguing. So I wanted to, in designing that shaft, also figure out how can I make something that is going to assist and make it a more comfortable machine to swing. And that's where the whole counterweight idea came from. So to bring it all the way back around and cut down on my words here, that were the goals that I had with the shaft. I wanted to make something that eliminated the buttonholes, that was easier to adjust, that was a stable, solid shaft, it wasn't going to wobble, and then something that was swing easier, something that would feel less difficult, less fatiguing on a long hunt.
Yeah. Jersey Boy did bring up a good point. He said, just make a straight single piece shaft. What do you think about that? Have you ever thought about that? Or
Yeah, it can certainly be done, and if that's what somebody,
but
if that's what
everybody's
somebody
different
prefers,
sizes.
what's
We're
that?
all different sizes.
Yeah, I mean, lengthwise, you can't adjust it to come for your comfort zone. I wouldn't think that'd
yeah,
work.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
If somebody wanted one, I could certainly build it that way. But it's like you said, I would have to know from each customer, hey, I want a shaft that's
Yeah, you have to
52
measure it.
inches long.
Measurements.
You know what I like though is, and kind of what I think Paul does, and a lot of the people do. You get multiple. One of the biggest pains in the butts is to switch out your coils, right? So if you got a lower shaft for each one of your coils, it makes it that much quicker and that much easier to switch out a coil. And you're not sitting there trying to screw like on the small in the 6-inch coil.
Oh yeah,
It's almost
I know
hard to
what you're
get your
gonna say.
fingers in there to.
You can't get your finger in to get the bolt.
No, yeah, I would
Pain.
rather do that one time. You know what I mean? So that's what probably my next investment would be, is just multiple lower shafts.
Yeah.
So, but Clay said, yeah, custom link shafts is a great idea. Great idea.
Well, Kurt got the shafts from Steve. Steve hooked up the Hoover boys, and that is one of Kurt's favoriteest things.
Yeah,
is he has the shaft on each one of the coils.
yeah, and I didn't know you made it for every type of detector. Well, pretty much every detector out there. So that's nice too. So let's see. All this all this talk of shafts and buttonholes. I don't know where that's going, PA, but I'm not going to read the rest. Metal detecting Mike said, I have a lower for each one of my coils that makes changing coils a snap. Yeah, and that's a cool part about like the Deus too, is because if you want to change shafts or whatever it may be, it's so you can adjust it really easily. It's really compactable, and then you can change your shafts like that. No wires involved, so it makes it a little easier. So
one thing me and Steve talked about today was shafts for a shovel. Now, I know one thing, even Wes brought it up today just in the chat room, hey, you should make one for the shovel.
yeah, I saw that.
What else it would do is these guys are saying there should be a compact shovel where you could also take the shaft maybe and close it, and then it fits on the airplane like everybody's been wanting, because everybody wants a compact shovel.
Hey, you're giving away the good ideas, Paul. Dang.
That's right. Sounds like a marketer.
You're fired.
Now, is that carbon fiber strong enough to endure like the pressure that you would put on like a shovel? Or could you do that?
Paul was talking to me about that today. One thing I also mentioned is I've gotten into now also building handles for sand scoops.
Okay.
I'm putting that up.
Yeah, and so a lot of beach hunters want a carbon fiber shaft because it's lighter and yet you still have the strength. But the key to it is all you do, depending on how much strength you need, is you just change your specifications on the wall thickness of the carbon. So like on an Equinox shaft, the wall thickness on the upper shaft, for instance, is about 1 millimeter.
Yeah.
But when I make a scoop handle for a sand scoop, it's actually 2.5 millimeters is what I use. And so you can increase the strength or the rigidity of that tube just by specifying with the manufacturer how thick you want that tube to be manufactured. And what they do is it's actually cloth. It's carbon fiber weave cloth, and they impregnate it, they soak it in epoxy. And then they have a metal rod, and they just start wrapping it around that rod. So the more wraps you have, the more those fibers, you're getting more strength, the more wraps you use. So for a 1 millimeter tube, I don't know how many wraps that is, but the point is they'll stop once it's 1 millimeter thick. But if you want a shovel handle or something, you just keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping until you get the desired thickness. And, that's how you get the strength out of it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And if it's strong enough to do it, why not? Makes it lighter, more compact.
Yep.
Shoot, I'm down for that. Shovels are probably the most, daunting thing that you have to carry around while you're metal detecting,
I don't know. What do you think? I think maybe we should be the testers.
Yeah, if you're looking for some field testers,
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, someone, I think Mike had put in there. Oh yeah, I'm pretty hard on shovels sometimes. I broke at least 3 Army issue entrenching tools. And then he got a lash that he modified, and he loves it. And I use the lash, but for the bigger, like when we go out into the fields, I use those huge like root rippers because I don't need to. But those things are heavy, man,
They're not like
heavy. So, but not as cold as steel. Oh yeah, and that's true too. The lash gets real cold if
Well,
you're
well,
carrying that around.
well. First of all, like I said, if you can make it that it could lower and then fit in your travel bag, you'd also have a matching set too. Like your detector can match your shovel, so that's kind of neat too. You know.
Hey, even though we're all out and getting dirty and stuff, we still like to accessorize. You know,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
we like them to look
Eric.
good. You
Eric.
know.
Eric's got his detector pimped out.
Oh yeah, mine's all picked out.
Hey, we could be dirt bags with nice stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and then you make the counterbalance that goes on the back there too. Yeah, Steve.
Yep.
So now if like someone were to like say they wanted to purchase one, does it come with the counterbalance or do you buy them like all three shafts separately? Like how does it work?
Yeah. It's all up to what the person wants. The basic shaft I sell in 2 configurations. Basically, if you're not interested in the counterbalance, you don't have any trouble with the Equinox, then I just sell the regular 2-piece shaft and it has a regular end cap in it, sort of like what the Equinox stock shaft has, just a plastic cap. But if you're undecided, if you think, someday I might want to try the counterweight, but for now I think I'm good, what I do is install a threaded fitting in the end of the shaft, and then I send a screw-in end cap with it. And so you just screw that into the end of the shaft. If you ever decide to use a counterweight, it's already set up to do that. If you never do, that's fine. And then the third way I sell them is that counterweight ready shaft, but then also with the counterweight. And there's a little bit of a fitting process that goes on with that. I try to work with each customer to get the right amount of weight. I like to keep the counterweight as short as possible and yet still long enough to hold the amount of weight that each person needs. And it's a little bit different for everybody. Some people say, I feel the nose heaviness, but it doesn't bother me at all. Whereas other people say, hey, I can't hunt more than an hour, hour and a half, and my wrist is killing me. And what that tells me is each one of those people, the one that doesn't feel it at all probably doesn't need any counterweighting. Whereas the one who, can't hunt but an hour, they need quite a bit of counterweighting to offset that. So each person needs a little bit of, different amount of assistance, so to speak. And so I try to tailor that size of the counterweight to each person.
And you just use it with your factory arm cuff then? At that point?
You can do it with the factory arm cuff. I also sell, I mentioned Jeff Berkey's name earlier, the arm cuffs he makes. He actually supplies me with arm cuffs for
sweet.
that,
Cool.
fit my shaft. So if you want to replace it, you can do that as well. But it works fine. And I should mention that everything, that you need to install it, it's the arm cuff fits right on, the handle fits right on. There's not any adapters or whatever. You use the hardware that comes with your shaft. It's real easy to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I missed Mark said Paul would need 8 different colored shovels. That's all right. You got to be matching, So
Hey, I gotta give Paul credit. He loves his colors, but I'll tell you what. When I started out, I was selling just the black ones, and I'd have customers occasionally say, "Hey, why don't you make a blue shaft?" And I thought, blue? Do they even make carbon fiber in blue? But I had enough people ask me about it that finally I started offering a couple of colors. And then thanks to Paul, I think my color palette has increased by 100%. He wants all different colors.
Hey, you got to be different than Anderson and all the other companies. If they just sell 2 colors, 3 colors, then they're just ordinary. But if you sell a bunch of colors, that makes you right alone better than them,
Yeah.
Can't argue. Like I said, you're the marketing genius.
And another thing I told him, he ends up sometimes having one shaft for one color left and another shaft for another color. You got baseball, you got football teams, you got hockey, basketball. If you got a green shaft and a silver shaft, you could be an Eagles fan,
Paul, I forgot to tell you, I had a customer yesterday contact me and say, "Hey, I'm a big Flyers fan. Can you make me a black and orange shaft?" And I had to think of you saying that.
Oh, perfect.
Trey Tyler had a question in chat.
Yeah. Tyler said have Steve talk about the weight in the counterbalance is adjustable. You can add more shot.
Yeah, what he's talking about is the way I weight those things is I have sealed bags of basically lead bird shot that goes in those. And each one of the tubes I make, I try to make it where it's applicable to different size coils. For instance, I sell a 4.5-inch counterweight. And in the counterweight tube itself, when it's empty, I've got a weighted fitting that goes on it. And then, of course, you have the cap that screws on. It weighs about 4 ounces. And then inside that 4.5-inch counterweight, I put in an 8-ounce bag of shot and a 4-ounce bag of shot. So the total weight you can get out of it is 16 ounces. And the importance of that is this. Most people who swing an Equinox will say the 6-inch coil is light as can be. I have no problem with it. It doesn't feel nose heavy to me. I can swing it all day, no problem. And so what that tells me as a person who's trying to design a shaft is, while a 6-inch coil is still going to make that shaft nose heavy, there's more weight at the coil end than there is at the butt end. What it's telling me is you are able to exert the amount of effort needed to keep that 6-inch coil floating all day long. It still has 10 ounces of weight out there, but it's not too much to bother you. But when the same people, when they switch to an 11-inch coil, they say, yeah, I start to feel it after a while. And then particularly with 12 by 15, they really feel it. So what that's telling me as a shaft designer is, if I could balance your coils, no matter what coil you're using, and make it feel the same way that your 6-inch coil feels, then you could swing any of the coils all day long. And so that's what I try to do with like the 4.5-inch counterweight, for example. The 2 bags of shot in there, they're the size they are for a reason. If you put just the 8-ounce bag in, take out the 4-ounce bag, which all you do is unscrew the cap and pull the bag out. If you just have the 8-ounce bag, now you have 12 ounces of total weight. And that's about the amount, it's actually a little more than you need, to make your 11-inch coil feel like your 6-inch coil. If you switch to the 15, unscrew the cap, put the 4-ounce bag in, now you're running 16 ounces. And it just so happens that about 16 ounces is the amount it takes to make your 15-inch coil swing like your 6-inch. So the idea there is you can adjust. So if you're swinging a 6-inch coil, don't put the counterweight on at all. If you go to your 11, put on the counterweight with just the 8-ounce bag. And if you go to the 15-inch coil, put both bags in and put the counterweight on. That way you have the same feel to your shaft in terms of balance, no matter what coil you're using.
Yeah, I can't wait to use it on the 15-inch because it kills me.
Yeah, I hear you. That's a big coil.
Hey, I tell you what, we probably out there for 8 hours, Paul, Joe?
Yeah.
How long? My arm after that day, my shoulder and arm were just burning. I was sore.
Can you imagine having, say, an Equinox 15-inch coil doing New England for 10 days straight?
No way.
Probably couldn't even have a drink,
Yeah, no. There were certain movements where I was just like,
you need to use the CPX harness at the bar.
Now, with those shots, though, they fit perfectly in there where you don't really feel the shot, like the actual shots moving around.
Yeah, the bags themselves, the shot fits pretty tightly in the bags. The bags are kind of vacuum sealed.
Yeah.
So when you slide them in, the friction of the bag kind of holds it in place inside the tube.
Cool.
And because they're kind of vacuum sealed, the shot doesn't really wobble around in the bags either. So
that's good. Yeah, that's the only thing I could see is like it moving back.
It's tight enough they don't move around.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
And you just put as much in for whatever each person's different.
Yeah. Let's see here. Tyler said beer harness, new product idea. Nice, Paul. Hey, he's not only the marketer, he's also the engineer. He's thinking of all these new ideas. Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Steve said he'd hire me if I was closer.
I would. Absolutely.
Hey, you need a Northeast division. So
I do need a Northeast division.
Charlie says he loves his red carbon shaft along with his blue snake skins. Yeah, see, when you put those two together, it actually, like, you can do a lot of cool different things to make it look really good.
Yep.
So Tyler said he would buy a beer harness.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It may be something where you can just pull on this lever and it brings this one up. That would be nice. I'd like that. So
I think you're flagged at that point.
Yeah, that's true. Joe, Eric, you guys got any questions for Steve? I have been rambling on for too much time. I just got to keep myself in check. you know.
You're doing a great job, man. Just keep going.
Hey, raise your hands. I was telling Steve too. Don't you guys think he should get stickers made too?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Send them out with your shafts. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
not a bad idea. I got
I
these
don't know,
bulb caps, but
Stickers are a hot thing right
Oh,
now.
nice.
Everybody's got to have one, you know?
I don't know what it is about the metal detecting community, but everyone loves stickers. I got the thing is like I don't know what to put them on yet because I don't want to waste them. I got
Yeah,
a drawer full of everybody's YouTubes in my
Me too.
drawer right now. I don't know where to put them.
Your
But
friends' cars.
huh?
Your friends'
Your
cars. Why would
friends'
you?
cars.
Yeah, make some stickers, Steve. That would be
Yeah,
great. People would
definitely.
love that.
With the shafts, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
all right,
Let's
sounds
see.
good.
Some people at the DIV events swing for 12 hours per day for 3 days. Talk about burning arms. Yeah, that's a lot of swinging.
Huh?
Charlie said, "My wife just woke me up from a nap. Thanks, honey." Yeah. Let's see. How about a shaft-mounted solar-powered Knox battery charger? The good idea fairy from Mike.
I'll tell you what. There's some great ideas.
Hey, we got a creative bunch in here, you know. So
A carbon fiber solar shaft.
There you go. That'd be awesome.
Mama said she makes her stickers into magnets and put them on a metal board. That's cool. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see here. Oh, thanks, Marlon. He said I'm doing a great job.
He said, "With built-in flashlight."
Uh-oh.
Oh, my
happened to
battery went dead. Hold on. Let me. Can you still hear me though?
Yeah, actually, you look better like that.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Give me 1 second. I'll switch these out. I didn't charge my camera long enough, so.
Steve, do you have any
Hi,
plans on
Charlie.
doing
You made it.
a shaft, a telescopic shaft?
You know what? The trouble with a telescopic shaft is this. You either need, first of all, you're kind of limited on the upper shaft because unless you build an adapter for the handle and the arm cuff to fit on, then you have to use that specific diameter of shaft, which is about 22 millimeters, in order for the handle and the arm cuff to fit correctly. So you're kind of limited there unless you build some kind of an adapter, which is, I think, what Telenox does is they have some adapter. But at that point, if you don't build an adapter and you stick with a 22 millimeter upper shaft, then your middle shaft ends up being the size of the lower rod in terms of diameter, and now your lower rod has to be really skinny to slide up inside of there.
You know, we're
And
about
the
the
other
wall.
issue is you now need two different kinds of cam locks,
Yeah.
and I only have one size of cam lock right now. The injection mold I have just makes the one size, so I would have to invest in another injection mold to have a second size of cam lock to handle that smaller tube, your lower rod being a smaller tube now. And I haven't figured out yet, you know, it's expensive to buy an injection. And I haven't figured out yet if there's enough of a market for a shaft that's fully telescopic to where I ought to make that investment or not. You know, I know that there are people that really like the fact, but what I do build, and it's not as convenient as something that collapses down all the way, but I can build, and I should mention, I do a lot of custom stuff, you know, for people aside from the normal two-piece shaft and you know, in whatever color you want. I do a lot of custom work, and so I've done, you know, for one customer, I did a dive shaft that was just one solid shaft. He wanted it 28 inches long, so he scuba dives, and so I did the shaft for him. But I also do a three-piece shaft, and for the folks that need something that will collapse down smaller. And on that one, the middle and lower sections will collapse into each other, just like, you know, my normal shaft will. But then the upper part that has the control box and the arm cuff, it detaches. I just put another one of my cam locks and flip it the other way. And so you just flip the clamp open and you can slide your upper shaft portion out. So there is a way for me to build one that's collapsible or that will allow you to travel with it. It's just not quite as convenient as having one where you just flip open two cam locks and slide it all together. But the only way around that would be either making your upper tube larger, which would require an adapter for your handle to fit onto, or make your lower rod quite a bit skinnier than what, you know, they currently are. And either way, it takes two cam locks, two different sizes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Telenox's main problem is their cam lock.
Yeah.
And I think I went out and got aftermarket ones, and it works a lot better. It doesn't shift or anything, but I don't see it lasting, as long as it probably should.
Where were you able to find cam locks for it?
I found them on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The kind that have the kind of a wing nut on them.
Yeah, they turn and then they lock.
Yep, got it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And as I'm like tightening it down, I can hear a little bit of creaking and cracking, so I know it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm taking them, unlocking them and then keep locking them, collapsing and whatnot. It's not gonna be good.
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm thinking about is investing in a second size of cam lock. But again, one of the concerns I don't want to have to make an adapter for the MindLab handle. My concern is once you start doing stuff like that, if you start having issues in some way, I don't want to get to where you're voiding the warranty through MindLab or something like that. If MindLab finds out that you're not attaching your handle to your shaft in the factory way, you're putting adapters and things like that, and then something would break. My concern is if somebody tries to go back and say, hey, my handle, the screws on my handle broke or something, and they find out, well, you were using some kind of an adapter to hook it to your shaft. So I want to stay away from that. But then the issue becomes, like I was saying, that lower rod, if it's too small, does that present a problem? Is that something that would be it'd be a pretty thin lower rod if I went that route. So it's something I continue to think about. If people, if enough people want it, it's definitely something that I can work on doing. It's just, I'm not sure whether there's enough advantage to a person in a fully collapsible shaft versus just a 3-piece shaft where you detach the top section. I just don't have a good enough feedback yet from customers to know whether it's something to dig into and make up a design for.
Should tag and make a few of them and pass them out. Give one to Paul. Let's try it out for a while.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Paul will test it for me.
He'll
make it in a color though.
I'll test it out.
Sounds good.
I'll give you some
the
feedback.
testers don't have to be certain colors. We'll deal with that.
Yeah, that's right.
You're the merchandise manager, buddy. You should have the first dibs on them. Don't look so excited.
Yeah, it's just neat to, I was the one that said to him, hey, you should try doing the Garretts, and now that's working out. And all it does is it takes one person's idea, maybe I can't make something and come up with an idea, but if I see somebody else do it and it goes through, it also feels good to see it happen,
Hey, man, the best way to find stuff out is listen to the people who swing them all day long. You want some feedback, put it on your website. And so people start messaging you some ideas.
Yeah.
And Steve's one of the guys that, I'll tell you what, if you have a problem with your rod and it has to come back to Steve, he's not happy. He's got to figure out what went wrong, and he's got to fix it right then and there. And that's the great thing about him.
That's awesome. That means quality's always there.
You got it.
I appreciate that.
There was some questions about pricing, Steve.
Yeah.
What's it look like?
Well, I do so much custom stuff and little tweaks and things that it's hard to, as far as just a standard shaft, like if you just wanted a standard Equinox shaft, you didn't want a counterweight, you just wanted a 2-piece Equinox shaft to replace the one you have, and you wanted it in black, that would be $129 plus shipping. Shipping is about $11 for that shaft. And then from there, if you want it to be colored, that same shaft would be $20 more to get it in one of the different colors. If you want it to be counterweight ready, which means I install that threaded fitting in the butt end and put a threaded screw in end cap to go with it, that's $10 more. So for a counterweight ready colored shaft, that's $159 plus shipping. And again, about $11. So you're looking at about $170 for the whole shebang there. And then if you want something custom, you want this made different, that made different, there's usually about a $20 fee to do custom work.
Sure.
Is that? Thank you, Charlie.
Did you, Charlie?
Steve, is that pretty similar to a CTX then?
No, the CTX lower rods, the black CTX lower rod, and I do make those in a travel version as well. I don't make too many of them because the fitting makes that shaft heavy, and the CTX is a heavy enough machine to begin with. But for guys that want to travel with them, I will make a travel version that unscrews like a full cube. And I also make tall man lower rods for the CTX. But a standard CTX black lower rod is 89 for shipping. And again, that's about
the simplex yet?
No, I can't do it for the simplex because of the non-round.
The mold.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Somebody asked in chat before. I figured I'd bring it up.
Yeah, I've had a lot of customers ask about the Nocta shafts, and again, that may be something where I have to look into an injection mold, or not an injection mold, but a carbon fiber mold, because I do get a lot of requests for that. Apparently, the Nocta shaft leaves a little bit too tired, and a lot of people want an aftermarket for it.
What else we got in here? Ezra asked Charlie if his face matched his shaft. Oh, he didn't tell you he actually had a rip in his shorts. His fly was down. So let me ask you this, Steve. We talked a lot about your product, but how often do you like to go metal detecting? What's it like out there in Oklahoma?
Well, I used to go a lot more before I had the shaft business. Most of my weekends now are trying to catch up on orders. But that's a good thing. No, I try. You know what? I try to get out as much as I can. It's harder here in Oklahoma. And I don't.
Hey, look, Andy's in the chat.
Yeah.
To do what?
No, Andy O'Neill. We dig metal detectors popped in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm long-winded and talk too much, but the short version of it is,
I love it.
Oklahoma is a young state, relatively speaking. I mean, it was all Indian territory up until basically statehood in 1907. But the area wasn't even open to white settlement. Whether that's politically correct or not anymore, I don't know. But it was opened in 1889. So really, before that, you didn't have any settlement other than Indian reservations.
Yeah.
And so to find older stuff here, if you're a coin hunter or a relic hunter, it's hard to find anything pre-1900 here. So, I'm kind of spoiled coming from Pennsylvania, where you can, the much older part of the country. But I still, my thing still is digging old coins, and so I try to focus on that. But down here, finding a barber coin is a pretty big deal as compared to back east. That's nothing. But yeah, I try to get out as often as I can, and I say that I have gotten lucky. There's one really neat place down here that I was privileged to have the opportunity to hunt. I had a friend who knew a landowner who owns a big ranch down in southern Oklahoma, and that ranch was the former site of. I told you I wouldn't get long-winded, but here I go. Just cut me off when I talk.
Keep going, Steve.
There's an old fort down there, and I won't give away the name just so everybody doesn't descend on this guy's property. But there's an old fort down there that was put there, and at the time it was on the edge of the western frontier. And what had happened was, the history of it is, you had the native Indian tribes here in Oklahoma, the Comanche and just were native to this area. And so when the U.S. government started moving all the Native American tribes out to Oklahoma, they settled them basically in the eastern half of the state. So what you had Seminoles and the Potawatomis and the Creeks that were all settled on these specific plots of land. And then in western Oklahoma, you had all the native tribes like the Comanche and stuff. Well, they didn't get along very well. The Comanche felt like, hey, you're moving these people in on our land, and there's a lot of fighting, a lot of friction, a lot of hostility. So the U.S. military had to build forts out on the western frontier to try and keep the peace between the different Indian tribes. And this fort that I'm talking about was one of those forts. It was, at the time, it was the farthest west fort in Oklahoma that was put there. And there was a lot of historic type treaties and stuff that were signed there between various Indian tribes trying to keep the peace. But the point is, my friend knows the landowner who now owns that property where this fort used to exist. There's still a couple of the old buildings,
So cool.
but basically there's not much there. And so we got permission to to hunt that land, and we found some really, really neat stuff there. Lots and lots of seeded coins, and you name it, as far as military stuff, bullets and buttons, and just
That's
about the same type of things that a Civil War hunter finds back east, on a good Civil War campsite or something. We found all those things, uniform parts, and
dang, that's so cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
Is that the place you went on vacation to last year?
What's that?
Was that the place you went on vacation to last year?
No, this actually is only about an hour away from. I still had access.
Didn't you go through Civil War somewhere in Pennsylvania?
Yes, I did. One of my customers that lives in Maryland invited me along on a Civil War hunt, and so we went, and that was a lot of fun. I got a whole story I could tell there too, but I won't because I talk too much. But anyway, so my point was, though, in the Oklahoma thing, I did manage to find I found an 1854 Seed Liberty quarter there. So occasionally, if you're in the right spot, there's still some old stuff here. One of my buddies found the seeded half that day, and but that's few and far between in Oklahoma. Most of what you're going to find is 1900s and older. But yeah, I get out as much as I can, and I love it. I think it's a great hobby.
No, I agree. Yeah, Missouri Mike said hard to hunt. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's true. The my uncle, he owned a piece of property that used to be a drive-in movie theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he had a metal detector just to find lines in his yard, but nothing more than that. That's the only thing he owned it for. Then my dad goes down there, and he's got an Equinox, and they start searching, and they find early 30s, like 30s and 40s silver coins there, and it's like that's been laying there for so long with no one even realizing that it's there, and then they go down.
That's amazing.
But those are probably the spots you're looking for in Oklahoma at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Yeah. Preserving the past archaeology. I have Andy's skins with Steve Rod's. Great combination. Yeah, that's true. And it doesn't really matter what color. I bet they all look good together. So.
Yeah, I had a customer the other day ordered a green shaft, and so and then he has a green and black snake skin that he used on it. And he has one of those the plastic covers now that they sell for the in various colors for the control boxes. And he sent me a picture of a shaft all done. I thought it looked great.
No, hey Trey, our great sponsor said he's going to give away a snake skin tonight.
Is that true, Andy? Do you want to give one away? Does he actually want to give one away? I was trying to read the chat. I didn't see it.
Yeah. He said
you guys are laughing, so I'm not sure.
He said yes. I messaged him.
Okay, so.
Oh, I get.
Does it matter what color, Andy?
What's that, Paul?
Somebody asked if you do this full time or do you have a real job or not.
Oh yeah, I see that. No, I have a real job, and it's funny you said about the engineering. My dad was an engineer, and I started off college as an engineer, so I do have a couple years. But I moved over to science, so actually I'm a meteorologist is what I do for my day job. But a little bit of engineering background there, and it's something I would have enjoyed, but I enjoy weather as well. So.
Well, one question I forgot to ask you the other day, since you said you're a meteorologist, you said you had to stay overnight somewhere for work. Why did you have to do that? Was there something complicated with the meteorology that day?
Oh, you talking about when I was working night?
Yeah, and you had to do.
No, it's just part of our regular shifts. We have to work rotating shifts, and so I'll work, 10 days or something on a 4 to midnight shift, and then 10 days on an overnight shift, and we just rotate. So you never know where you're going to catch me.
I bet being a meteorologist in Tornado Valley makes your job, a little more interesting, huh?
Yeah, that's actually how I ended up here.
No, really?
I work for is focused on severe storms, and so that's why I'm here. I went to school at Penn State, and my hope was to stay back east. And my last job before I came here, I was in Tennessee, and I really liked it in Tennessee. That was a great place to be. But this particular job came open, and it's an interesting job since you're dealing specifically with severe weather. So
you're not one of the crazy guys in the armored cars chasing down tornadoes, right? Yeah, you are?
I know. No, I'm not, but I know the guy who does. I've been out chasing, but not in the armored car.
Yeah, Charlie.
That's cool.
Charlie
That's
went
cool.
to Penn State too.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, is that where you went, Steve? Penn State?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's do this then.
We're gonna do guess the state, man. Check private chat.
Okay. So I just say guess the state, ready, set, go, and then they got to guess the state.
Well, as long as you all know what the hell the state is, yeah.
I looked in there.
All right.
All right, ready, set, go. Just guess what state Joe put in the private chat.
Everybody keep an eyeball on chat because it's gonna fly. Maybe.
Paul's guessing. You can't guess.
Oh, you
Paul.
can't guess. Get out of here.
You got the answer in the chat.
But he didn't even know that. That's even funnier.
But please, if you guys haven't heard of, I don't know who hasn't heard of snakeskins, go check out We Dig Metal Detectors and their snakeskins. Not New Jersey, not Texas. Ezra, why aren't you playing, man? Not New Michigan. I like New Michigan. That's a cool one. New Arizona. Name. I'll give you a hint. It's more Eastern.
Stop with the hints. Make it hard.
We'll be here all night.
Well, we still got 4 minutes left, though.
Oh, that's true.
This guy could kind of
I'd
funny.
rather hear
Guatemala.
stories.
Paul.
All right. Guatemala.
Damn, nobody's even close yet.
I said east, and people are going further west.
Oh, there it is right there. BC Treasure Trails.
BC Treasure Trails. Louisiana. There you go. I don't know how you want to reach out to them, but how should we do that, Andy?
Actually, have him send post up the email link to us, and we'll get it to Andy.
Send it here. Copperheads. D.Copperheads. Sometimes I forget our own email address.
BC, send an email with your address, email address, and we'll get Andy to get it out in the mail, buddy.
Those are beautiful.
It's for Knox and Nocta only. No Garrett. We forgot to enter that.
So, Steve,
yeah.
are you starting to like the Facebook? Because you never really did any Facebook stuff, so now you're starting to catch on.
Yeah, a little bit. You're out in my secrets. I'm an old man. I'm never on social media, but the Facebook thing, yeah, that's been really good for the business.
And for what you're doing, it can help you a lot,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people. It used to be, and I'm still one of the old people that likes to get on the detective forums, but pretty much there's been a mass exodus to Facebook groups. So it's kind of the way of the world today in terms of metal detecting.
Tyler, ask Trey to send it to you. You'll have it in 2022.
Better late than never.
What's up, Drum Detect?
Let's see. Loco's still guessing.
BC said okay, so.
Oh, Andy said shoot me a message. So cool. What was Paul talking? What were you talking about with Facebook?
Hey, big.
Oh, he was just saying for a long time I wasn't on Facebook at all. I never did Facebook, just personal Facebook. And Paul helped to get me going on getting a Facebook page for my business.
Damn, Paul, you are the man.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, when were you when I was doing the Ultimate Find Spot?
I mean,
Charlie brings up a good point, Steve. You got to start learning some TikTok dances now.
And I see somebody else talking about Instagram too.
Yeah,
I'm old. I don't know how to do this stuff. I have to get my daughter. I need my daughter to help me with it.
I actually opened a TikTok. Copper Popper's got a TikTok now too. I have one.
You gotta get one. It's the new way of social media stuff. But
Instagram. I try to think because I'm of the old generation that doesn't hardly use this stuff. I'm trying to think what would I put on Instagram that would be interesting to people as far as my business goes, and I never come up with a good answer.
Bunch of selfies, Steve.
Just
Show off that.
pictures, man.
Oh yeah, people want to see selfies.
You can actually do small videos of your rods. You know, show them off the colors and stuff. I mean, just post rods.
Listen,
Yeah, but what would he do with
the
TikTok?
information that you gave tonight,
Yeah.
I've learned so much more about, just you would never guess there's so much info you could, have about just a metal detecting shaft itself. But even that info, as short little videos on TikTok or whatever it may be, it's good. So you'll find the niche and your community will grow, that's for sure.
What
And then
about
also,
TikTok?
obviously fines and stuff.
Then you'll have to hire Paul.
Yeah, I know.
What would he do on TikTok?
What's that?
What'd you
What
say?
would he do on TikTok?
Send.
I thought TikTok you do kind of like skits and things.
Yeah, but I mean, you can do
You can do anything.
digging videos, short digging clips of what you find, all kinds of stuff.
People's attention spans are so short nowadays. It's like 30-second videos and people love it.
That's kind of what YouTube's doing now too. Those shorts, same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Drum and Detect, that's what I do. I work for a car manufacturer.
So he
Oh,
could
yeah.
do a commercial. He could do a commercial with Charlie, where Charlie's using his red shaft, and he's on the beach, and the girls walk up to him and say, "Nice shaft."
Yeah, but Charlie's gonna be Charlie's gotta be the matching skill.
Detectorrods.com.
Okay. Now I feel bad because the guy that asked about the Instagram, he's older than I am and he knows how to use it. So I guess I'm ashamed. I need to learn.
Steve, Instagram's really easy if you need help, buddy.
Yeah. Steve, you're a kid compared to me, and Charlie said that, and he's on TikTok.
Oh,
And
got no
Anthony's
excuse.
right, though. Social media will help with sales, but
All the
I know
sales,
you're
shop.
you got a regular day job too, so probably an influx of hundreds and hundreds of sales would make it pretty rough on you. You don't think you're got enough time for metal detecting now? Just wait till that
I know. I know.
No, don't be surprised after you do this live stream that you don't get bombarded either.
Well, that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Good
right.
problem to have for sure.
Always glad to help.
Let's see here. Drum detect, short city, tuner stuff. I don't know what's Drum talking about with tuner stuff. I don't know what you're talking about. But let's see here. Trey has technical issues. That's what he does. Ezra, you couldn't hit the nail right on the head, man. All right, have a good night. Let's see here.
Good night, Ez.
Mike said videos that are under 1 minute do not count towards watch time. So that's pretty good info. Loco said TikTok, I'm lucky to use my metal detector. Luckily, I have a sticker on my shaft with an arrow pointing at my coil saying this end up. Gotta love it. So,
That's funny.
all right, it's 9 o'clock. You guys got anything else?
It's
Before we go?
9:02. Steve, thanks so much for coming on tonight. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
All right, Paul,
Appreciate it.
it was a pleasure,
See you
buddy.
guys.
It's nice to see your beautiful face on here. Should make it happen more often. All right, bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Next Wednesday.
Great show, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.
See
See y'all.
Steve, hang out.